The print, 20th of September 2023, China wants to keep India on the subcontinent and impede its rise to power, so Lieutenant General Prakash Menon. China is launching a full-scale assault on the Indian subcontinent, and to accomplish its objectives, it is deploying political overthrow and debt traps. According to Army veteran Lieutenant General Prakash Menon, China's efforts to encroach on India's subcontinental neighbors, Nepal, Bhutan, Myanmar, Sri Lanka, Maldives, and Seychelles, are intended to keep India contained inside the subcontinent to impede its rise to prominence. Menon spoke on Thursday at a webinar titled Interpreting China's Strategy on the Northern Borders, where he served as the director of the Strategic Studies program and a professorial fellow at the Takshashila Institution. The webinar, hosted by the Institute of Chinese Studies in New Delhi and included the print as a media partner, was facilitated by Vijay Nambiar, a former Indian ambassador to China and honorary fellow at the same institution. If China's aggressive actions on India's northern border don't stop India's power from growing at a rapid pace, then India could pose a threat if it were to tilt or shift its balance in favor of China, which would be a significant setback for China, Menon stated. I believe that the first thing we should realize is that China's military tool, being instrumental in nature, must ultimately sway the opinions of those who make decisions on the other side, Menon continued. According to him, China is using all of its tools, military, economic, and diplomatic, in order to achieve its objectives in the domain of the psychological. He claimed that China's initiatives are essentially intended to sway the political leadership of India. India's confines to the subcontinent. Menon claims that China is applying small amounts of military force along India's northern frontiers as pinch points or pressure points to keep India's military and political resources sucked up. This is a component of their broader plan to keep India contained within the subcontinent. It has been using Pakistan as its southpaw for several decades and still does, to keep India busy, Menon said. Menon stated that China's approach to India has changed. China first said that there had to be peace with India. During this time, China concentrated on keeping quiet and reached several agreements with India. It also built its infrastructure and connectivity, including military installations in the Tibetan and Xinjiang regions. In an attempt to draw India's attention to the northern borders and expend political and military resources, he continued, China has been making small interventions in the walls of the north since about 2010. These interventions have included patrolling along the line of actual control, LAC, stopping Indian patrols, and holding banner drills in which it claimed that these regions were part of China. After that, he continued, China would concede, engage in talks, and return things to their previous state. Menon stated that this went until the Galwan incident. Within the US, Japan, India, and Australia led Quadrilateral Security Dialogue, Quad, Galwan shifted India's standing. Indian and Chinese troops engaged in combat in the Galwan Valley in eastern Ladakh on the evening of June 15, 2020. The print previously stated that during the fighting, at least 20 Indian soldiers lost their lives. Menon claimed that before the Galwan events India was reluctant to join this organization. Galwan clarified China's stance on India's policymakers, he added. He said that although India has acknowledged that it would have to bear the brunt of China's aggressive measures along its northern borders, there are areas in the marine domain, particularly with the Quad, where collaboration can be achieved. In a way never seen before, India and its allies have launched a flurry of cooperative naval or maritime drills, Menon continued. Although there isn't a stated enemy in these drills, he added that the growing maritime cooperation between India, the US, and its allies worries about the psychological effects on China. India's natural resources. Menon explained that a significant portion of China's trade with India involves the Indian Ocean, specifically the peninsular region jutting out into the ocean and its central location along vital trade routes. These routes carry energy and resources from the west to the east, and manufactured goods go the other way. Apart from nuclear weapons, he also emphasized that the greatest strategic threat to China might come from the other countries in the Indo-Pacific, especially India, if they can unite and cooperate in the maritime domains. China is primarily concerned about that, the cooperation of several countries in the Indo-Pacific, according to Menon. This perceived danger has fueled China's increasing naval might. Menon continued, in terms of its geographic location, it is no match yet to the naval power of the United States of America, its allies, and, consequently, India. All these things, trade, must pass through the Indian Ocean. Menon stated that the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, which have a view of the Strait of Malacca, further enhance India's advantageous geographic location. The Malacca Strait, spanning 900 kilometers, connects East and West Asia. According to Reuters, the strait is used for over 40% of global trade and nearly 80% of China's total crude oil imports. Geographically speaking, China is not winning this battle. Its commercial lines and eastern seaboard are susceptible, according to Menon.